still connecting.
Faces coming in.
I'm gonna have to get a bigger monitor.
Right. All right, welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're able to join us today on this little webinar we like to call Virtual Brunch with Actual Nerds. My name is Liz Lathan. I'm from Attendee Management. I'm a nerd, and I'll be moderating our discussion today. So it's been a little while since we've done one of these. We moved to a once-a-month schedule, and then we had some scheduling conflicts. So this is our first brunch of 2021. It has been too long since we've seen all your smiling faces. So before we begin, just take a little moment to do a Brady Bunch style welcome back and look to one side and wave, and then look up. All right. Great. Today we are talking to Liz Lathan, CMP, about audience engagement. Before we get started, let's go over a couple little ground rules. As you know, if you've ever joined us before, we want your questions, we want your experiences, and your amusing anecdotes. So please don't be shy to speak up or drop a line in the chat. When you do, please start by introducing yourself. And that includes all of you AMI nerds too. Jeff, Jill, Christina, Marissa, Bragan, looking at you guys. Say your name and your company, and then go on ahead with your amusing anecdote. One last thing that really helps us all interact with one another is if you change your Zoom name to reflect your full name as well as your organization, which I am terribly guilty of not doing right now. I can see. I'll get right on that. But now, since the worst possible way to engage an audience is to have a bumbling idiot like myself read a script, I think it's time to say hello to our guest nerd, CEO of Hot Dokumozo, which I can't say for the life of me, Liz Lathan.
You did awesome. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Absolutely spectacular.
Why don't you say your company's name correctly and then tell us a little bit about it?
Hot Dokumozo is what we say. Hot is spelled like H-A-U-T-E, oat, if you are French, but we're super American. So we say hot, and that way we can do all sorts of ridiculous things with it. My dog is the hot dog, all those things. Dokimazo is the Greek word for to try or prove that something is genuine, and that is everything we do. We are the ones that go cannonball into crazy things and see if they work, so that other event professionals can go do it without worrying or know that it doesn't work and then don't do it.
Great. But that's not all. According to your bio, you have at least 5 companies listed there.
We do. We have 6 now. We just did an acquisition in January of EventWorks, which is an incredible event agency out of LA. So yeah, we do a lot of crazy stuff. We just do fun things.
Yeah. Well, great.
I can attest to that.
Well, you are also a professional virtual event MC, which is why we brought you on today, because you have all kinds of fun ideas about how to keep the audience engaged, other than cute kids waving, I guess.
Cute kids are the way to go.
Yeah. So our first question is actually from a different Liz Hunley. How you doing, Liz? I see you down there. So she wants to know what your favorite CRM system is, and just use it to keep up with various clients and events, which I guess isn't. It's a good question.
It is a good question. And I would say that there is no right answer to this question, just have one. And we've been using, our website is on Wix, and we've just been using Wix to send out all of our emails until recently, and we just switched over to SharpSpring, and so we've moved all of our stuff over there, and are starting to use that as our CRM system internally. We are only a 2.5-year-old company. We just started out in 2018, and so our CRM system was our brain and our Outlook and our emails, and that was it. We did Salesforce for a year, and one person used it in the company, and so it was just too much for our little company. But now we're up to 56 employees and 6 companies, and it's time to start getting our stuff together. So we just moved over to SharpSpring at the end of 2020, and again, I don't think it matters which one you choose, just choose one.
Thanks. Now that's an important piece of audience engagement, because it's the greater audience. It's including all of your potential audience. But let's focus more on events, virtual events. So if you were going to get a virtual juggler, would you tell them to just stick with the flaming torches because the chainsaws would be too loud? Or what are some great ideas just to kind of make these kind of meetings more fun?
Well, so I think the big question is what kind of engagement are you trying to do? And that's just before you do anything at all. Do you have an event that's going to be a broadcast and you're trying to get people to engage in chat? Or do you have something that's going to be recorded and it's unlikely people are actually going to join live? They'll probably watch the replay, in which case engagement is going to be very different. Is it a Zoom meeting like this where you actually want people to talk with each other and you're expecting them to be on camera? So figuring that out first. We did an event for a company that were supposed to do their holiday party where they usually went to all of the offices globally, and they couldn't do that. So we ran a 24-hour event for them where one single Zoom link, and every single hour we did a different virtual adventure. So no matter what time zone they were on, they could join in and something was happening. And one of them, speaking of juggling, was fire jugglers. We were live in Turkey with fire dancers doing all sorts of crazy stuff for an hour. And then at a different time zone, we were in Mexico with fire jugglers doing that there. So it didn't matter what time zone you joined, that was something cool. We did live skydiving 1 hour. We did shark diving with nurse sharks underwater. And we've done incredible things. But the engagement we wanted there was the ability to join when it was right for you and have something that was interesting. We created the theme around earth, fire, air, and water. So all of the adventures had something to do with one of those. And so it was like, oh, well, I'm really interested in the earth part. And we had a partnership with Dig This out in Vegas and did the live bulldozer experience. If you've ever heard of it, it's like a adult playground for earth movers. And so we did that virtually. You get to crush a car with a bulldozer live on Zoom. So much fun.
I think there's one in Texas.
Oh, is there? I'm going.
I think there is.
Okay.
I read something about it. It may be a kid's version, but I think there is one.
Well, I can curl up in a ball and little.
Liz, how long did it?
Tonka trucks?
Yeah, Tonka like big Tonka. Well, yeah, they're colored like Tonka trucks. How much time did you have to set all that up? Just curious.
I mean, it was around 4 to 6 weeks to pull it all together. Yeah, standard time frame these days with last minute stuff and changes. But from pitch to execution was in that range.
Wow.
We just do fun things, right? That's
yeah, you do.
Try to find out something fun, something people are going to enjoy, and something that's going to be good for all the audiences. Or know going in that you've got something that's going to be specific, and that part of your team is going to join the meeting, and they're going to be cameras off, and they're going to stay on mute, and that's okay. They're enjoying the experience, or if they're not, they'll just hang up. That's fine.
And do their emails.
Yeah, I feel like that event is something you had to plan ahead because you can't just send somebody into the Shark Tank and, if they're not willing to do that.
We plan well ahead. We actually are the only company on the planet right now that has the technology with the underwater drone and the masks. So when the divers are underwater, you can talk directly to them. So they're surrounded by sharks and you can talk to the divers and go, how's it going? So we figured all that technology out for an event, and now we can do it. It's super cool.
Do you just wake up in the morning with a new idea like that?
The ideas are free. They're all in the air. All you do is reach up and grab them. See? Jennifer got one. But I mean, it's the engagement question, right? If you know that you're going to be doing a broadcast and the only way for people to engage is in chat, what is it that you want from engagement? Do you want the chat because an executive needs to feel like people were engaged? Or do you want the chat active because people are going to network with each other in the chat and find people? Craft your content according to the kind of engagement that you want or need.
May I ask a question?
A magic word there, network. I don't know if a chat is the best way to network with people. So do you have any other ideas of, a virtual network that doesn't cost a ton of money, but people could implement on in breaks between sessions.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're just using a Zoom meetings, that's what this is all about. This is chatting, talking. You can do breakout rooms. That's included in your Zoom. Throw people in there. If you've never done breakout rooms before, when you are the host of a meeting, there's a breakout room icon if you turn it on in your settings, and you can randomly assign people. And so depending on the number of rooms you create, you can automatically assign, and it'll evenly spread people across. And you can get something, as simple as table topics, which you guys may all have from events and playing with things, and you say, okay, I'm about to throw you into a room, and your question is, if you were to own a fabulously impractical car, what car would it be? Everybody go. And you throw them into a room, they talk to each other for a few minutes, and then you bring them back out. So, I mean, super simple, and it's just a matter of if you want people to talk. We've done a number of those where we put people in a room with career mentoring kinds of questions, or if you want to schedule the rooms across where you've got someone that's facilitating the conversation, just assign them into the rooms and throw them in, or just here, right? Just ask questions, chit chat. Like Elias, I see that your background is fantastic and it looks exactly like one I have from West Elm. How did you find it, and why do you love that one?
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Yeah.
Hey, Eli.
Hello. I actually, because of the plants, I cannot grow plants for the life of me, so I have fake ones. And of course, the dark color background is, I'm not too sure about the chandelier. That's not me, but I like everything else.
I think it adds some class. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. But Marissa, I see you have a real live plant behind you. I myself have taken to becoming a gardener during the pandemic and am now swarmed with fungus gnats. How do you keep the gnats out of your house?
What did I read? Corks.
So far, I don't. But I did hear that neem oil works well, so that's next on my list. This is the 1 year anniversary of this plant. I got it on Valentine's Day last year.
Congratulations for keeping it alive for 1 year. So see, there you go. Engagement, people talking. Now we know a lot about a couple of people, right?
I did just read the other day, if you will put corks, like wine corks, in your fruit bowl, the fruit flies don't like them.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
We all know that Jill and I like wine.
I got plenty of corks. It's great.
No shortage of corks.
Although I have taken to buying the box wine from Costco, so. But also, just playing with people and having some fun. So here, I'll spotlight this one and show you virtual backgrounds are a fun way to engage people. My son taught me this as he was first starting out on Zoom school, that you can simply, walk away sometimes. Yeah, so virtual backgrounds are a fun way to get people engaged and have some fun, and throw them up there and tell people to bring their own, and you're going to take them on a virtual vacation, and
Yeah, that is a lot of fun. I love that. It's like you cloned yourself for 1 minute just to. That's the dream, is to clone yourself so that your clone can do something and you can go do something else for a little bit.
But you can do that. If you've got a Zoom meeting, you just have that on. If you need to do stuff while people are getting ready and come in and, just have something going on, that's easy. Just open a Zoom meeting, hit record, say hi, do it for, 10 seconds, turn it off, and then load that up as a video background.
Love it.
Eli, who just was speaking but decided to post it on a question in the chat, has an excellent question. He says, so I have 3,000 to 4,000 librarians who, side note, is a notoriously quiet group who want to engage with each other. We have chat rooms. It's by session, not one big chat room. I don't think that's very productive, and we have some gamification, but it's limited. What other ideas out there for large virtual conferences?
That's a great question. So they're all in there together, and you have broadcast content, right?
Yes, we have both live sessions and on-demand sessions.
Okay, and so in the live sessions, there's a chat room going on during that, I assume?
Yes.
And then are there breakout rooms where they get smaller groups together?
Yes. So we have and we have live chat rooms in those sessions as well. Even though they're pre-recorded, we have the chat rooms that will be live. So the committee came back with, well, we want to talk to each other and not by session. So I'm like, 3,000 to 4,000 people in one big chat room is not gonna.
Yeah, no,
it's just gonna be scrolling and scrolling. I mean, you're not gonna be able to read. But anyways, that's just what I'm looking for, some new ideas.
Well, are they looking to meet each other, or what is your purpose for wanting them to be active?
They want to talk to each other.
Okay.
Because as we know, during the pandemic right now, most libraries are closed. Some are open, but they haven't seen each other, and so they want to talk with each other, not necessarily with speakers or with authors or that. It's with each other.
Yeah, and are you on a platform where you can put them into rooms, or you are?
We are on a platform, yeah.
Because you can, I mean, in the chat, if you find groups of people with a certain topic. So what we do at Hadoki Mazo, we call them spontaneous think tanks, where we bring people together to have conversations about whatever it is they want to talk about. So we don't create an agenda for any event that we run. We bring folks together. When we're in person, we use big giant sticky notes and a big wall, and we ask folks to put on the pink sticky notes, what problems have you solved that could help someone else with? On the other color sticky notes, it's what problems are you trying to solve? And from that, we're able to see the problems people have solved and can help others with could potentially lead a conversation. The problems people are trying to solve, we get all of that information. And so we go, all right, you're trying to solve digital engagement for books, right? And these people are like, oh my gosh, we're having trouble with all the digital engagement because the books keep getting whatever. So maybe that's going to become a chat room or a session this afternoon, and that way you've got the people talking to you about what they need. We use a tool called Mural, which is a digital sticky note tool, and it's, I don't know, like $7 a month, $5 a month, something like that. It's relatively inexpensive to use, but there's free ones out there too. You can just Google digital sticky note tools and bring people together. But I can spin up a Mural board real quick for you. We can play with that for a second. But that's what people want, right? They want to find out what problems other people can help them solve or find an answer to their problem. So if you have the opportunity to inject something like that into your conference, then maybe that would help.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. We did a quick one on our pre-call. Liz, were you gonna?
I am. I'm gonna grab it real quick.
Sorry, I could give you 1 minute. Are there any other apps out there that anybody else has used that? Oh, here we go. If everybody looks in the chat, Padlet, Liz Hundley.
I have used Padlet, yes. Yeah. Okay, so I've just put a link in chat. For those of you that are watching this on live stream, you're not going to see that. But for everyone here in the meeting, you're going to click to the mural board. It is optional for you to put your name in. You can just click in as anonymous. And if you just double click anywhere on the white part on the board, you're going to be able to create a sticky note. And I'll share my screen in 1 second. Challenges you're trying to solve. So I put 2 big sticky notes up here. One says challenges you've solved. One says challenges you're trying to solve. You can change the color of the sticky note. And I'll share my screen so everyone else can see what's happening. So this is a little digital sticky note tool. And if I zoom out, you can see it's this huge board. You just double click and it creates a sticky note. You can change the size of the sticky note.
Yeah, and then you can also put backgrounds in there, right? And
you can, on the left-hand side, there's a whole bunch of different little icons and images and stuff you can bring in. There's one here in Mural. One of the reasons that I love this tool is they've got some pre-created templates. So I'll drop this one down. This is called the Innovator's Compass. We use this all the time when we're doing strategy sessions. So you start in the middle. You've got a problem you're trying to solve or something you're trying to get your team unstuck with. Internally, board of directors, whatever you want to use this on, strategic planning even. But who in the middle, who are the people that you're trying to solve this problem for? And then you start on the bottom left going with observations. So what's happening in these people's world right now? What are they experiencing? Move it up to principles. What matters most to these people? Over on the right-hand side, what are the big dream ideas that you could do that could help these folks? And you got to think really, really, really big. And we find that when we do this exercise, no one's thinking big enough, but we make them try. And then down below there, it's design experiments, which means what could we actually go do that would maybe be doable to solve this problem. So why don't we work a problem? So if I am looking on the sticky notes, if you guys want to add anything, is there a challenge that you're trying to solve right now? Also, fun Zoom tip, if you've got Zoom as your active window, you can hold down the space bar to unmute like a walkie-talkie. So just hold down space and say hi.
Breaker one, I've got a problem that we could take Eli's example of a large meeting that needs more better words is what I need. That needs better engagement, and it's, you know, a large meeting that the chat's not going to work.
Okay, so let's take that. So who we got? We've got librarians. Those are our people that we're trying to solve for. What is happening in their world right now? So they are they're digital, and their libraries are closed. Libraries are closed. So I'm just going to put sticky notes on the board here, and what's happening in their world. They need to connect. And their outlet to connect are these large scale events. So it's too many people. Maybe it's overwhelming to connect with other people. What are some of the biggest challenges, Eli, that they're having right now? They're introverts. Good one.
I'm guessing they're introverts. I mean, you don't strive to work at a place where people can't talk because you're an extrovert.
So this is what's happening in their world. We want to move up to the principals area. What matters most to them? They want to get their information to more people remotely. What else are they? What's most important for these librarians? Remaining relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with a library on their website a few years ago, and they were, you know, with the transition away from real books into audiobooks, they were trying to become a community center, more or less. But I'm sure this pandemic has thrown a loop into that plan.
Yep, absolutely. And so moving over to the dream ideas, what are some ridiculously crazy ideas that no one would ever want to do? That is, how about ship books to homes?
Didn't somebody used to do that?
Well, I mean, you think about the scale, it might be challenging, but what are some of the big ones? Book streaming, I love that one. Drones to drop them off, fantastic. Think big, think big.
What about a live book club?
Live book club.
Socially distanced.
Oh, in person. Socially distanced book club. What about celebrity readings?
Could you get Matthew McConaughey to read for me, please?
All right, all right, all right.
All right, all right, all right.
We are experiencing some very bad weather here in Texas. So if any of us start cutting out or you lose us, I apologize.
Same here.
So these are great ideas we can throw out to the librarians. Let's bring this back to the event that Eli's trying to solve for. I got 3,000 people that have these problems. How can I get them to connect during this event or after the event? So during the event, we've talked about something like this. So we can put in the live crowdsourcing of challenges. I like down here, a Slack channel. Which is a great idea. Maybe you don't actually have to have them connect on the platform that you're on for your event. Perhaps you drop in there and say, here's another place we can create channels. That crowdsourcing we're going to do is going to spin off the channel so the conversations can happen after the event.
That's probably, I mean, in a large event, if you can't have people network in real time, getting them to connect to network afterwards is a great idea.
Virtual excursions like shark diving. Well, sure. Awesome. So you can see how the process works and how you can get people in here playing with it, trying to solve problems, getting people together.
And it's obviously so difficult to do.
I really like this idea.
Well, Jeff asked a question in the chat, just if there's a cut. Do you know if there's a cutoff participant number?
In Mural?
Something like Mural, or yeah.
Yeah,
3,000 people at once would.
When did it start breaking down?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. If you want everybody, I think you can have up to it's a stupid number. It's like 1,000 people you can have in there at once, but I think that it would be ridiculously overwhelming to have that many people in there at once. So I would we tend to keep it around 150 folks, and of those 150, I would say about half of them are active in it. There's always someone who's having a browser problem or an issue, so I make sure I have a room admin or somebody that's watching the chat and saying, hey, if you're having any trouble with Mural, drop it in the chat. We'll make sure that we get those created for you, and just make sure everyone feels like they have the opportunity. But there's a whole lot, like Padlet was another one that was suggested. There's Miro, M-I-R-O, is another one of these. There is a kind of one that looks like a cork board with just sticky notes. So again, if you just Google online collaboration tools, you can find a lot of these that are going to serve various sizes. I tend to love Miro because it's got some of those built-in design features, and they're really fun.
So you could do multiple murals, right? Maybe. Can you do murals while you're in a breakout room? So multiple breakout rooms, multiple murals?
Absolutely.
Topic-like.
So share my screen here. These are all the murals for all the events that I've done. You can create as many as you want. You can have them going. Yes.
I really love the idea of having an interactive background to where you can have sort of a workflow to solve the problem, or even just a workflow that's fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be a problem that you're solving, just something that's fun.
Well, I mean, if you take something like this, so like Eli, if you've got people and they have to go in pre-assigned breakout rooms, there's not really a way to get them to network or meet each other, you can have this, to your point, Layton, of like an asynchronous networking opportunity. So this is going to go in the background. You write on a sticky note, here's my problem, here's my name and contact info. If anyone solved that problem, reach out to me. And then you guys get all the insights of all your participants. So now you've just built out your editorial calendar for the next 18 months by finding out what problems everyone's trying to solve. People are able to see, just like a literal bulletin board in a library, what people are pinning up on the board so they can find each other.
It reminded me like an old-fashioned info board where you'd go and pin something and people would like rip off their phone number.
Exactly.
Liz, I do have since I'm unmuted, I do have a question for you, because we're still talking a lot about this in a very Zoom world, and we keep getting a lot of not a Zoom meeting, we want it to be great. Like what do you tell people when I personally feel like Zoom is a really great tool, and that's like basically like saying, oh, not a Kleenex, it's just so, what do you think people mean, and what do you say to people when you hear that?
Oh my God, I love Zoom. Zoom is my favorite tool ever. I think that it's the most amazing. We don't view the screen as a boundary. We view this screen as a portal. And through Zoom or any other tool, it can take you anywhere in the world, and you can have almost any adventure. I went to 28 countries in 2020, all through Zoom. I kissed the Blarney Stone. I rode a horse. I was on a dog sled. We were underwater. Like, you can do so many things. So when people say that they don't want to use Zoom, I don't know why anyone would say that, other than you've got a huge event that you're trying to scale. So Zoom is not going to do that. Zoom webinar will, but it's not going to be this Zoom meeting thing. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, obviously. If you're doing a conference and you need multiple things, like what Eli was talking about, you're going to have broadcast sessions, you're going to have face-to-face sessions, you're going to have chat sessions, you need an exhibit hall. Yeah, you're not going to get that in Zoom. But when you need to have the face-to-face conversation, that's when you're going to do it. So thinking through, we've been tracking these spreadsheets, and there's over 200 virtual event technologies now that you can choose from. So it's nice and easy these days. So Start with what you need, because my problem with a lot of the event technologies out there are that they can do so much that as an attendee, when I join it and see how much there is to do, I just give up and don't do the event anymore and go back to my email. So be very clear on what you want your participants to experience when you're creating that, so that they're not going to get overwhelmed. Or be very clear that if there is a lot that can overwhelm them, they know the path they need to go on so that they can follow it and not freak out.
Before we get too far away from mural, Liz asked a good question. She asked Liz Hunley, not Liz Lathan. How do you attach the mural to the individual breakout rooms in Zoom? Is that just having a facilitator in the room?
Yeah, exactly. So anytime we're doing a Zoom or any event, unlike an in-person conference, when you create a breakout room and you let it just run, you've got your speaker and your people in the rooms. Virtually, we have a person in every room. Never leave attendees unattended. So we will have a room parent, if you will, in the breakout rooms, and that room parent would drop in the link to the mural board that's going to be live for this room, make sure that the timing, they're keeping people on time, kind of host them. So, I mean, we're all in each other's homes right now. So I like to treat all virtual events as I've welcomed you into my home. I want you to feel comfortable here. Can I get you a drink? I'm here to host you.
All right, great. Eli says they're using Hub for the
okay, yeah, so you've got Hub. That Hub is incredible. Hub's another one of those tools that has 9,742 features, so it can literally do anything that you would want it to do. So it's up to you to think through that attendee experience and where you want them to engage and where it's okay that they don't engage. If it's just a broadcast keynote and you don't need them to be chatting in there, plan that, think through that, make sure you're broadcasting it as a show for them to enjoy, because they're probably multitasking. They've got the broadcast part going, they're getting other things done. But you're going to throw them into a Zoom room or one of those one-on-one rooms, then prepare them for that experience.
Are there any other, I'm sorry, Rosie.
No, sorry. Hi guys, Rosie Kerrigan. Eli, so can I just ask, what's your experience with Hub? Do you like it, or have you actually used it yet, or just planning?
Yeah, our conference is in April, so we're just right in the midst of getting, utilizing Hub and everything. And actually, we really do like it, but there is a lot of features, so you really have to think through those features and like Liz was saying about the attendee experience and what you want them to get out of it. And we use a lot of databases. Obviously, we're Association of Librarians, so our API through there to Hub is kind of a challenge. So that's one thing I would recommend is make sure you have a good API to get over to the platform. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's good.
And I've been a participant in 2 events in that platform, and one of them had every single feature turned on, and that was one where after about an hour, I didn't know what to do anymore, and I kind of gave up. And the other one, they were very prescriptive about here's the path that you take, and it was a fantastic experience. So, yeah. But that's not on the platform, right? That's on the event organizers to figure out what they want that experience to be.
Yeah.
What type of features are too many?
Yeah. What was the question?
I'm sorry, that was. What type of features do they have that that Zoom or just like a regular, not regular, but other competition doesn't have?
I don't know. Comparison feature to feature, I don't know. It's just a matter of, when you think about your in-person experience, a lot of these tools are trying to replicate that, and so they're thinking of all the stuff that could happen. So you've got your exhibit hall, your lobby, your the demo stations, the keynote main hall, the ideation sessions, the breakout rooms, the one-on-one space, the subject matter. So it's like all the things that you would experience at a normal 3-day on-site event that have been turned virtual, which they're great, but if they're all turned on and you literally have 15 options on the left-hand side, you're going to click on them all to see what they are. And then you're either going to pick one and go into it, or you're just going to close the browser. And so making sure people understand, okay, here is the agenda and here's where you should be spending your time at these moments. I think over communicating what the experience should be for people is helpful. And if you can, if you've got the chosen paths, like helping people on their journey, if you have things tracked out, you know, if you're on an executive track, you should probably choose these 6 activities. Make sure you don't miss them over the 3 days.
So you don't use every knife in your, or every blade in your Swiss Army knife.
Or if you do, you've scheduled when it should happen for optimum engagement or for the right moment in time. I think that's the problem with a lot of people doing the virtual exhibit halls. It's like, well, I have a 3-day event. I've turned on my virtual exhibit hall, and exhibitors sit there for 3 days and get no meetings. That's not beneficial for anyone. The exhibitors are angry, and the participants are like, why was that even there? So if you have the exhibit hall there, but have your specific, just like in real life, right? You don't put the exhibit hall open all the time. You have those specific moments, and the expo's open, and you have your happy hour in there, and that drives people to it. Thinking through that experience virtually too. Otherwise, you know, come up with a different way to engage your exhibitors and don't force them to build out a booth that no one's going to go to.
Yeah, and we do have, with our platform, we do have everything turned on, so it's really can be overwhelming, but we're keeping the platform open till June, so that way attendees can just go through it and take their time. So besides the live session.
I would say you need to come up with reasons for them to get back into it, because what we've seen, those events that are going to last longer than a couple of days, you lose people and they have no reason to go back. So if you can throw in we're going to do a 1-hour get together for people on this topic that we uncovered, come back in, join us for this.
Katie, Liz, we had someone ask about your thoughts, engagement at hybrid events, what experiences you've had with that.
Oh, hybrid. I was just telling somebody this morning, like we are right now, all the events that we're planning between now and the end of the year, our in-person plannings are going spectacularly. Our virtual plannings are magical. Our hybrid events are a mess. Because the problem is, especially when you're chatting with clients and they're like, why does it cost so much? Well, because you're running 2 events. You got 2 separate teams, you got 2 separate plans, you got 2 separate audience journeys, and they will cross at times, but it's 2 events, so double the cost. Now you can definitely just throw a webcam on a computer and call it hybrid with the in-person people, but that's not really the experience that your virtual audience needs. I like to view it as, I think about it as optimizing for digital. So if you're planning an in-person event and you have a keynote, consider making that keynote experience feel like a TV studio so that your digital audience doesn't feel like they're watching a person at a podium and that they were thought of second. Make the digital audience feel like it was created for them as a broadcast, and then your in-person people get that in-studio audience feeling and they feel special, and so you can kind of balance both of those things and it doesn't feel like either one of them was an afterthought. But also don't try to live stream all 3 days of your content, because that's not going to work either.
So do you put up blinking applause signs and laugh signs?
You can, but if you planned it appropriately, you don't need that.
How can you make the virtual side of the hybrid feel like they're there?
Yeah.
Do they
feel like they want to be there next year even?
Do they need to? If I'm sitting here at home, I don't need to feel like I'm there drinking with those people. I need to be online with the people that I'm online with. So again, that's why these are separate experiences, and they're gonna cross at the moment that the content needs to cross, but they don't need to cross the whole time. You can figure out, I think Smart Meetings and BizBash and Connect and a few others have done a good job of the in-person people going to sit at a table and have a conversation with someone via laptop, and do those networking crossover moments, but that doesn't have to be the plan for the entire event.
Have you seen like chat or some form of chat between the virtual and the in-person that works? That's something we felt like was missing.
missing as a virtual person you wanted to talk to the in-person people, or missing
Correct.
as in-person people wanting to talk? Because here's my feeling, this is just my personal opinion. If I'm live and in person, I, as the organizer, don't want all of my attendees sitting there on their phone,
On their
talking
phone.
to virtual attendees. I want them talking to each other, because that's why they flew somewhere to go to an event. Otherwise, they should just stay home and they can chat with people online. So again, I don't see personally a real benefit to making them get online and chat with people.
I know at MPIWC, I was virtual, and there was obviously in-person people, and they would walk by in the background of the TV. I'm like knocking on my screen, trying to get their attention and stuff. I went, wait, that doesn't work.
I mean, here's when it does work, though. So there was years ago, long before pandemic times, there was a South by Southwest session that I so desperately wanted to go to. I couldn't get into it, but people that were in the room were live tweeting what was going on. And so I was able, as a remote attendee, to follow that in-person person's tweets of all the stuff that was happening. And I thought that was absolutely spectacular. So again, think of the experience, think of the engagement that needs to happen. So if the virtual audience needs to experience something that's on site, have someone on site planning to be that person who is then going to share it. And do I discourage hybrid? No, absolutely not. I think that there are moments of connection that can happen. You've got a great keynote speaker, and that content is great for your digital audience. Plan for that accordingly. I just don't know that you need your in-person audience to be forced to talk to your remote audience all the time. I think there are moments of engagement you can create to bring them together, but you should think of them as separate experiences when you're planning it.
I think that's an interesting point, Liz, because I feel like lately it seems like the common like hybrid is like to make the people who are virtual feel there. So like we've got cams and we've got like, oh, look what, I mean, but it almost feels like, look what you're missing, Cam. Like, any thought? But I do think that's kind of like at least a trend. And how do you feel about that? And would you how do you feel about that? End of question.
Okay, so think about, there's some great conferences that exist. I think last year's IBM Think was like a 20-30,000 person conference, normally in person. They went virtual, and they had like 100,000 people participate in it when they turned it all virtual. So 100,000 people are not going to come when we can all go back together. It's probably going to go back to the smaller numbers. So you have to plan the content to reach the 100,000 audience, but plan it for the in-person one as well. Now, they do a fantastic job of making all of their content feel like broadcast, even when you're there, for a very large audience. And so they have a budget to accommodate that experience. But the people that are joining online aren't necessarily looking to engage with the people who are there in person, and they aren't looking to feel like they're there. They're there for the content, and they're there to solve a problem. So having that experience planned out for them virtually is great. Now, showing them some of the cool stuff that's happening in a TV studio feel way, right? Like roving reporter, man on the street, we're here on the expo floor showcasing this, talking to somebody. I can watch that on TV, I can watch that on my screen, and I feel I'm getting what I need out of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all the people that are like begging, oh, show us how they serve the coffee. Yeah, but that's planners, right? How did they get everybody into and out of the room?
Well, from a hybrid, I mean, if you're talking about like actual physical planning for the event, yes, that's a whole nother session. But as an attendee, as an experience,
yeah, as an attendee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the man on the street kind of, that's an interesting way. It's kind of like a surrogate. You're there, you have somebody that is there, and you're living through them. That's a great idea for
your digital audience, right? I mean, it's something, we did it when it was in person, but it was rarely live streamed when we used to do it. It was always video capture stuff that you would use marketing promotion stuff afterwards. Just think about turning that into something your digital audience can experience.
So Jeanette asked some good question on the chat. For popular sessions, would it be smart to have a person in the room who is live tweeting or streaming content for virtual audience? taking the room moderator role to the next level, and they become the eyes and ears for their virtual audience. I mean, that's sort of what we were just talking about. I was thinking about it more from like a networking and just sort of the transition point. But for those big sessions, how would you accommodate that?
No, I think that's perfect. That's exactly how it should work. And the people that are in person are going to be on social media. So, if you have a way to engage through Twitter or through any of your social channels, the in-person folks can post their questions, can send things. Your virtual audience can still engage with them through the social media, and they can connect with each other the same way that they've always done it. So I don't know that doing that is any different than how we've done it before. You're just more conscious that there's a digital audience there.
I have a hello boomer question.
Bring it.
So, speaking of engagement and social media, it's like, and speaking as a speaker, it always was distracting when people were on their phones, because it's so, I mean, for me anyway, it's very difficult to be engaged in my phone and also picking up on what the speaker is even saying. So is that just me, or are there better solutions for that?
There are no solutions to that. There's no such thing as multitasking. You're either listening to the speaker or you're doing something else, which is always my problem with events in the first place. Why did I fly to California to sit in the back of a dark keynote room and do email on my phone? Well, if your content isn't engaging enough for me to sit my phone down and pay attention to it, or if I actually am actively listening and posting something from it, like, those are two very different things. I think the hardest thing ever is for that poor keynote speaker that you just paid $50,000 to be on stage to look out and see 49,000 people on their phone instead of paying attention to you. You have to consider yourself an actor and pay no attention to the audience and just get out there and perform. So I have that same problem with Zoom. Like, we all expressing emotions is something that I, as an extrovert, look for when I'm chatting with folks. And so I feed off of the energy. And when I see resting Zoom face of people that are, just kind of hanging out doing other stuff, then it's so hard. When I have a big event, sometimes I'll look for some folks and go, hey, I need 3 volunteers to act like you're engaged with what I'm doing, because you're the 3 I'm going to look at, and that's going to help me keep going.
And do you hire out for that, Liz?
What was that, Jill?
Do you hire out for that? I'll go.
Sometimes I'll just get some folks from my team, and they're like, I know this is going to be one of those where ain't nobody going to be on camera and I need some help. Can you guys just join and nod?
It's not a bad idea to have some plants in the crowd.
Totally.
Good questions loaded. Yeah.
Well, you should always do that. I mean, any event, you should have people that are keeping the chat going and asking some questions. You should have some people in the room that are kind of helping you along a little bit. Even if there's just challenges that people are having, to be your tech support back there. Virtual events are a team sport.
We're having a little challenge, I think, in convincing planners how big the team needs to be.
Mm.
You have, planners are so used to doing everything themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or making sure it gets done. They're not that any of us are control freaks, but to realize you need all these people in the room to help you, it's kind of sometimes hard. And sticker shock, because you're having to bring in more people than you expect.
Right.
Do you have magic words for that?
I mean, I don't.
It takes a team. It takes a village.
It's true. No, I mean, honestly, our virtual events take more people than our in-person events. Because when you're in person, there's a lot more people you can rely on that you didn't have to necessarily pay for, because you're at a venue, you have a catering staff, you have all those people that are around, and you can just grab someone and they'll help you out with something. Could you help me carry this box even? And there's just people everywhere. But in a virtual event, they're not just people everywhere. You got to plan for those people. And, if you can just get some contract support that you can pay a day rate to, and have them get some interns, get some hospitality fresh grads that are currently looking for roles that need some support, and train them up on what you need them to do. Help them get a leg up, because they need virtual event experience as well. And you need people that aren't going to cost so much, and just kind of build that support network.
Yeah, we have the day rate challenge too.
Jill, can I share some feedback?
Please, Katie.
I would say if you're having trouble convincing a planner that they need extra support for a virtual or hybrid, phone a friend. So if you're trying to talk to someone, any planner who's actually done it once knows that this is true and they were crazy for believing it otherwise. And if you had told me I needed 3 people, I would I've done it and I would tell you I need 10. So experience speaks volumes. So if you ever have trouble with that, maybe
call Katie,
your person, call a planner who's done it and say, so-and-so's done it before. Why don't you talk to her and see her feedback? And I volunteer for that if you need it, because it's serious.
Just put your cell in the chat, Katie. I'm sure everybody would love. No, I'm kidding.
How about my email?
But it's true. I mean, you think about, so some of us that have been doing this Zoom stuff since March are able to host, MC, run breakout rooms, keep the video working, put some sound in, run sound effects, and do all that stuff. But not everyone is comfortable with making all of that happen at once. So you might need someone that's going to keep the chat going, someone that's going to spotlight the people that are speaking, someone who's ready with the slides or with the music to play. And so if you need to break that out, look, that's 4 separate people, not just the one person. If you are working with people that only have the budget for the one person, then you better get real darn good at being the one person. And just jump on a Zoom with people and friends and, run trivia nights with your friends, or join a church group and offer to run their cooking with this chef thing and just start playing. That's the only way. That's how we figured all this out. Here's the thing. There are no such thing as experts in virtual events. There are only people who have done it more than once. So if you've done it 600 times, you're still not an expert, because now your client picked a platform you've never used before and you got to go learn that.
Yep.
There's something different every time.
So Liz, Cindy Williams asked, what have you seen work well for an engaging virtual technology showcase type of experience?
Tell me more, Cindy. What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm trying to replicate the physical experience in our flagship event. So a big technology showcase where startups are there and attendees can go mix and mingle, and they're showcasing their product.
Technology showcase in that they have physical demos they would normally do in a booth?
Exactly.
Okay. And how many people?
About 600.
And how many actual booths or people that are showcasing?
About 40.
Okay. And they normally would walk around and they would mix and mingle and do that kind of thing? Okay. So obviously in a digital experience, so I'm not a big fan of the avatar walking around thing. I think that mostly I have a problem I'm trying to solve, and so I just need a way to solve my problem. So making sure that whatever experience you have allows your participants to browse through categories or through problems that the technology solves, or however they want to filter down to go to the ones that they need to explore. There's so many virtual fairs and website ways to categorize things. It's really, who are you optimizing for? Is it for those people with booths, or is it for the attendees that are roaming around?
Both, but in my case, these are Stanford-related startup companies that we showcase technology, and we want our attendees to connect with them. So win-win for both.
Okay. So I think you just go down the 2 paths, right? Do the Innovator's Compass that we did before twice. So 1, you want to go figure out my audience is these people that want their technology in front of 600 people. Okay, so what's going on in their world? They have new tech that nobody knows about yet. So there's a brand awareness conversation that they need. What matters most to them is getting their demo in front of as many relevant people as possible, not as many people as possible, because that's a waste of everybody's time. And then what are some great experiments? Are there opportunities for them to find the right people during your event? So is whether it's a crowdsourcing moment or a survey that people do, or the registration questions that they're answering in the beginning, how are they going to find those people? And then creating an experience that has the right people together. So I just got a demo yesterday of Swap Card, and they have, you can build out your expo, your pavilion, but you can do it with tags, you can do it with categories. And so people are able to filter down whatever they're specifically interested in, and that helps.
Thanks, Liz,
Yeah,
and
swap
thanks
card
for
is
being here. It is getting close to time to wrap it up. So before we go, I know you had a favorite charity you wanted to plug.
Oh yeah, so Tui Deep, who's a new team member on our team, has introduced me to the Search Foundation, which I think is a really super amazing foundation. Most of you have probably heard of it, but for event professionals in need, is completely anonymous for people that need support. They can just apply, and whether it's an illness or a personal financial trouble or tragedy and you need support, the Search Foundation is a great organization. They have something called the Search 100 where you can very simply donate $100 and they manage those requests and giving support to event professionals in need. So give that a Google and check them out. They're super awesome.
Thank you, and thanks for being here, Liz. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody.
Okay, so this was hilarious because I didn't know this was going to be Ask the Oracle. I'm not an oracle. I just sat here and spouted stuff for an hour, so hopefully some of it was helpful.
Yeah, you've been great, Liz. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And thank everybody for joining us. Good.
Good to see some faces.
We will do this again a month from now, which will be March 11th. Until then, check out our archive at attendingnet.com/archive and follow us on social media. You can find us on all the major channels if you search for Attending Management. Jeez. If I can mess up anybody else's company name today, let me know. I'm available to mispronounce any words you want. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much.